Tomorrow is, well, it's the semi-quincentennial, America's 250th birthday.
Right, the big one.
Exactly. And for years, I mean, literally years, thousands of planners all across the country have been engineering this, like, perfectly synchronized national spectacle.
Yeah, a massive logistical undertaking.
But today, right on the eve of the main event, the physical reality of the Earth just sort of stepped in and essentially said, no, we're doing things my way.
It really is the ultimate reality check, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
We construct these incredibly complex, deeply funded schedules, but they all still operate at the complete mercy of environmental baselines. And when those baselines shift, the human plans just evaporate.
They really do. And, well, welcome to today's deep dive, everyone.
Glad to be here.
We are looking at a Friday, July 3rd, 2026 news cycle that is aggressively rewriting its own script today. And we're powering this entire conversation with a massive stack of briefings from the Daily Tech Reader.
It is a seriously heavy stack today.
Right. We have unprecedented weather phenomena crashing the national holiday, foundational Supreme Court rulings, AI valuations hitting, like, the $1 trillion mark, and some pretty severe global crises.
It is a dense, highly impactful day of news for sure.
Yeah, and since you, the listener, are likely prepping for a long holiday weekend, maybe you're, I don't know, sitting in traffic or getting the grill ready, our goal today is to extract the mechanics behind all these headlines.
We want to make sure you're fully up to speed.
Exactly. We want you walking into whatever gathering you're headed to as the most informed person in the room. So, okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the physical environment, because a brutal northeast heat emergency is literally shuttering history today.
Yeah, the numbers coming out of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast are just staggering. I mean,
Right.
we're looking at ambient temperatures hitting 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but the real story...
Heat index, right?
The heat index that
Yeah.
feels like temperature when you factor in the humidity. It's reaching 113 degrees in Washington, D.C., and 109 degrees up in New York City. And at that level, the human body just loses its ability to effectively cool itself through sweat.
And that biological limit is immediately translating into a complete logistical nightmare. I mean, the organizers in D.C. actually had to shut down the Great American State Fair on the National Mall right in the middle of the day.
Yeah, they had no choice.
They've pushed the evening's start time all the way back from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's like planning the biggest anniversary party of the century, and the venue's AC completely breaks down.
That's a great way to put it. What's fascinating here is just how fragile our infrastructure is against these environmental extremes. Philadelphia actually had to go a step further.
Right, they canceled everything.
Yeah, they completely canceled their Independence Day parade.
Which is a massive deal, That was supposed to be the nation's largest procession. They had participants traveling in from all 50 states. I gotta ask, has weather ever forced a pivot on this scale for a highly coordinated national historical event?
On a synchronized, multi-city national scale like this, it's incredibly rare. I mean, you can look back to events like William Henry Harrison catching a fatal case of pneumonia at his freezing 1841 inauguration.
Right, the famous coatless speech.
Exactly. But today is different. What forces cancellations today isn't just the discomfort of the attendees, It's the sheer strain on the emergency infrastructure.
The hospitals and things like that.
Right. When it's 113 degrees in D.C., local EMTs and hospitals are already pushed to the brink just dealing with baseline heat stroke cases from regular citizens.
Ah, I see.
A city just cannot safely host a mass gathering because the medical safety net is already exhausted.
Yeah, and it's not just the medical net, it's the electrical grid. Con Edison in New York is reporting more than 6,000 customers without power right now. But I really want to understand the mechanics there.
Sure.
If there isn't a storm, right, and trees aren't falling on power lines, how exactly does heat alone knock out the power?
It's a combination of extreme demand and degraded physical capacity. Obviously, everyone turns their air conditioning to maximum, which creates a massive spike in electricity demand on the grid.
Right, that makes sense.
But simultaneously, the physical infrastructure is literally weakening. High ambient temperatures cause the metal and transmission lines to expand and sag.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that actually increases their electrical resistance, making them less efficient. Furthermore, the massive transformers that step down the voltage for neighborhoods, they rely on cooling oils.
Okay.
And when the temperature doesn't drop enough overnight, those transformers can't shed their heat, so they overheat and eventually fail.
So the system is working the hardest right when its physical capacity to do the work is the most compromised. That explains why Pope Leo XIV's Liberty Medal ceremony in Philly was forced indoors.
Yes, okay.
He's actually accepting the medal virtually from the Vatican now, which is wild.
It is. And you see political figures adjusting their geography to find a workable backdrop, too. President Trump's team is pivoting heavily to Mount Rushmore for remarks and fireworks.
Right, emphasizing it as the primary alternative to the heat-disrupted events on the D.C. Mall.
Yeah. And down in Dallas-Fort Worth, they're sitting at, like, 99 degrees. But the air is dry enough and the grid is stable enough that the fireworks are proceeding as planned.
Okay, so while the weather is aggressively rewriting the physical map of the country this weekend, the Supreme Court just finished rewriting the legal map.
They really did. It was a blockbuster finish to the court's term.
Now, before we jump in, I want to speak directly to you, the listener, for a second. We are about to cover some highly charged political topics, and I want to make it explicitly clear that in this deep dive, we take absolutely no political sides.
None at all.
Our goal is strictly to report the facts from our sources and convey the immense legal shifts that are occurring just before the nation's 250th birthday. We are not endorsing any viewpoints, just trying to help you understand the original source material.
Exactly. And the material today is heavy. 3 major 6-3 rulings just came down that fundamentally shift the operating mechanics of several massive national issues.
Okay, so let's walk through the actual mechanisms of these decisions. First up, birthright citizenship.
Right.
The court struck down President Trump's executive order that aimed to end automatic birthright citizenship. They ruled it violates the 14th Amendment. But wait, how does a president even attempt to alter a constitutional amendment with an executive order in the first place?
Well, it hinges on the specific phrasing of the 14th Amendment. The text grants citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Okay, subject to the jurisdiction.
Right. The executive order attempted to argue that children of undocumented immigrants are not politically subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S.
Oh, I see the angle.
However, Chief Justice Roberts, writing for the 6-3 majority, completely rejected that interpretation. He wrote that the framers' promise extended to every freeborn person in this land, which maintains the long-standing legal precedent of geographical birthright.
Okay, got it. Next, the court upheld laws from West Virginia and Idaho that ban transgender female athletes from participating in women's sports teams.
Yes, another 6-3 decision.
Justice Kavanaugh wrote for the majority here, right? Focusing on the biology of athletic competition, he stated that males and females have physical differences that are enduring and relevant to athletic performance.
Yeah, and by upholding these state-level bans, the court essentially establishes a legal framework where biological sex at birth can be used as the defining metric for categorization in state-sponsored competitive sports.
So it supersedes gender identity in that specific context.
Precisely.
And the third major ruling completely overhauls the financial machinery of elections. The court struck down a Watergate-era cap on coordinated spending between political parties and candidates.
This one is huge for campaign logistics.
Explain to me what coordinated spending actually means here. How is this different from, say, a super PAC just dropping millions of dollars on television ads?
It basically comes down to communication. For decades, since the Federal Election Campaign Act was amended post-Watergate, a super PAC could spend unlimited money supporting a candidate, but it was legally forbidden from coordinating strategy with that candidate.
Oh, so they couldn't just call up the campaign manager.
Right. They couldn't sit in a room together and plan exactly which TD markets to hit on which days. And the political parties themselves also had strict monetary caps on how much they could spend in direct coordination with their own candidates.
So they were essentially forced to run parallel, somewhat isolated campaigns.
Exactly. But this new ruling removes those caps for the political parties. It means the national party apparatus and the candidate can now merge their war chests and share the exact same strategic brain without spending limits.
Wow.
Yet Just Kagan wrote a very sharp dissent on this, warning that it dismantles one of the last remaining structural barriers against the overwhelming expansion of money in politics.
And just as an adjacent piece of legal news in the briefings, we also saw former CIA Director John Brennan file a lawsuit against the Trump administration.
Right, claiming they are pursuing what he calls phantom criminal conduct against him.
Between citizenship, state-level sports bans, and unlimited coordinated campaign spending, I mean, what does this all mean for the average voter? This feels like a software update that fundamentally changes the operating system of American society literally overnight.
It really does feel like that. And I think what I matters so much is that these decisions touch on the three pillars of modern American debate.
Which are?
Who is a citizen, how we define gender and fairness, and how money fuels political power. Having all of this land simultaneously creates an immense shift right as the country marks its 250th year.
It's dizzying. But the legal frameworks governing human society aren't the only structures experiencing a massive evolution today. Let's pivot from the Supreme Court to the digital frontier.
Let's do it.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the sheer velocity of the artificial intelligence market right now.
The capital flowing into AI right now is just staggering. We are seeing historical sums being deployed.
Yeah, to put some hard numbers to it, Menlo Ventures just closed a $3 billion fundraise. That is the largest fund in their 50-year history.
Incredible.
And it's largely powered by their early bet on Anthropic. Menlo's cumulative $1 billion investment in Anthropic is now worth approximately $14 billion.
14 times return.
Because Anthropic itself is currently approaching a $1 trillion overall valuation.
And Menlo isn't an outlier here. Andreessen Horowitz raised more than $15 billion recently. Sequoia gathered roughly $7 billion, and Kleiner Perkins closed $3.5 billion.
So why are these foundation model companies commanding trillion-dollar valuations? I mean, software companies have always been valuable, but this feels entirely different from the whole app boom of the 2010s.
It's because foundation models aren't just software apps. They are closer to digital infrastructure.
Yeah.
Building a frontier AI model requires billions of dollars in specialized compute. Tens of thousands of GPUs running constantly for months.
The barrier to entry is huge.
Exactly. Because it's so astronomically high, investors believe this will be a winner-take-all, or at least winner-take-most, market. If you own the underlying cognitive engine that every other business eventually plugs into, a $1 trillion valuation actually begins to look conservative to these venture capitalists.
But here's the paradox I'm just stuck on. Anthropic is sprinting toward a $1 trillion valuation, but their newest model, Fable 5, was just globally restored on July 1st after a 19-day government-ordered suspension.
Yeah, a major regulatory roadblock.
The Commerce Department had slapped export controls on it. Are we treating AI like a basic consumer app or a matter of national security? And practically, how do you physically suspend a piece of software? Did the government just walk in and unplug a server?
Not quite. Export controls on AI rely on restricting API access and cloud compute provisioning.
Okay.
The Commerce Department essentially classifies the most powerful AI models as dual-use technologies. That places them in the same regulatory category as advanced aerospace engineering or, like, certain munitions.
So they treat it like a weapon system?
In a regulatory sense, yes. The government can mandate that cloud providers geo-block access to the model, preventing foreign entities or even domestic users temporarily from pinging the algorithm's servers.
So they are regulating a digital mind by putting a chokehold on the network pipes that connect to it? That's wild. And it brings up the friction everyday users are starting to see.
Right, the new consumer constraints.
Anthropic is now planning to require identity verification for certain consumer uses of Claude. We're talking about uploading a government-issued ID and doing a selfie check just to use the AI to prevent fraud.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights a massive tension.
How so?
Well, the technology is so powerful and fast-moving that regulators and the companies themselves are desperately trying to build guardrails on the fly.
Yeah, it's like trying to regulate electricity before the light bulb is even fully standardized. We know it's incredibly powerful, but we are still figuring out the basic safety mechanics.
Exactly. And the White House is pushing hard on this too, setting an August 1st deadline for voluntary frontier model release standards, just as Google is in talks ahead of releasing their Gemini 3.5 Pro model.
Wow, August 1st is right around the corner.
It's a complete rush to establish behavioral norms. You have over $25 billion of fresh venture capital pouring into these firms across the board, accelerating development while simultaneously demanding passport photos to stop automated fraud and dealing with Commerce Department suspensions. The market is pressing the accelerator to the floor, and the government is frantically yanking the emergency brake.
That is a perfect way to describe it. But Speaking of things moving fast and violently, while America is focused on AI investments and the semi-quincentennial celebrations, the rest of the world is navigating some profound physical and geopolitical crises.
It is a really stark contrast to the technological and political debates happening stateside.
It really is. Scrolling through the news, you see an AI company hit $1 trillion right next to the news out of Venezuela, which is just devastating.
It's awful.
The death toll from the twin 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude earthquakes is nearing 2,000. And we have NASA satellite imagery of the La Guaira coastline near Caracas showing more than 58,000 buildings damaged.
The 58,000.
How does a 7.5 earthquake physically level 58,000 structures?
It comes down to seismic wave mechanics interacting with local topography and construction standards. When tectonic plates shift, they release energy in waves, right?
Right.
If buildings aren't engineered with base isolators or flexible materials that can absorb and sway with those specific wave frequencies, the rigid concrete simply shatters. And when you have dense urban construction built on certain types of soil that actually amplify the shaking, the cascading structural failures result in the sheer volume of destruction NASA is observing from orbit.
And while Venezuela deals with geological disaster, the Democratic Republic of Congo is facing a severe biological one.
The Ebola outbreak.
Yes, an outbreak that has already claimed over 300 lives. Health workers in the Ituri province are completely overwhelmed. Our sources note they are facing critical shortages of PPE and isolation capacity. I just have to ask, how are we in 2026 and clinics are still running out of basic plastic gowns and gloves during an outbreak of a virus this lethal?
It's really a failure of logistics compounded by geopolitics. I mean, you can manufacture millions of PPE suits globally, but delivering them into a localized hot zone requires secure supply chains.
Which they don't have.
Exactly. Ituri province has historically dealt with intense armed conflict and very poor road infrastructure. If cargo planes can't safely land and trucks can't safely navigate the roads to the clinics, the global surplus of medical supplies means absolutely nothing to the doctor on the ground.
Wow. Which, honestly, perfectly transitions into the geopolitical deadlock in the Middle East right now.
Yeah, that situation is equally complex.
Iran's top nuclear negotiator just ruled out any high-level diplomatic talks until the U.S. adheres to a previously agreed memorandum of understanding.
Right, the MOU.
That is throwing a massive wrench into the indirect, Qatar-mediated channels. Concurrently, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a surprise visit to troops stationed in southern Lebanon, declaring publicly that Israel's military occupation there will continue indefinitely.
These are deep, enduring standoffs. We can image 58,000 damaged buildings in Caracas from space with perfect clarity, but we still struggle with the messy, human-to-human friction of moving a box of medical gloves into a conflict zone, or brokering an agreement over a border.
It's sobering. So with the weight of extreme heat waves, legal upheavals, global earthquakes, and geopolitical standoffs, how is the public coping? We turn to escapism.
We always do.
And right now, the entertainment and sports industries are delivering massive, historic distractions.
The demand for shared cultural experiences is visibly surging right now.
Look at the 2026 box office. Industry analysts are projecting it could hit $10 billion domestically.
Unbelievable.
That is the best year since before COVID. Toy Story 5 just had a franchise best debut at $159.7 million. The Super Mario Galaxy movie just crossed the $1 billion mark globally. Does a $10 billion projection prove that the communal theater experience is officially back from the dead?
I think it proves the premium experience model is working. People aren't going to the theater for average content anymore, you know. They are reserving their time and money for massive, reliable spectacles.
Right.
In times of high global anxiety, sitting in a dark, climate-controlled room and collectively experiencing a high-budget triumph is a really powerful psychological release.
And for living room escapism, Project Hail Mary, which grossed $683.5 million in theaters, actually beating The Martian Drops on Prime Video today.
I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Right. But if we are talking about massive shared global spectacles, we have to talk about the World Cup.
The knockout stages are providing nonstop drama.
It's been incredible. We had Switzerland getting their first World Cup knockout win since 1938, beating Algeria 2-0. Portugal edged out Croatia 2-1, with Gonçalo Ramos scoring the winner after Ronaldo equalized. Spain completely dismantled Austria 3-0. And for the U.S. men's national team, striker Folarin Balogun actually won his red card appeal. He is officially cleared to play against Belgium in Seattle on Monday. I didn't even know you could successfully appeal a red card mid-tournament.
It's rare. It requires an independent FIFA disciplinary committee to review the match footage and determine that the referee made an egregious, obvious error in applying the rule book.
Okay.
In this case, the panel determined the tackle against Bosnia didn't meet the threshold for a multi-game ban, and that drastically changes the tactical setup for the U.S. against Belgium.
Huge advantage. We've got more massive matches tonight, too. Messi and Argentina face Cape Verde in Miami. Colombia takes on Ghana in Kansas City. And right now, Australia and Egypt are deadlocked in extra time in Dallas. Egypt struck first via Imam Ashur, and Australia equalized on a Mohamed Hani own goal.
And while the world watches soccer and packs movie theaters, the financial markets are actually taking a breather today. The NYSE and NASDAQ are closed for the holiday.
They reopen Monday, July 6th. The briefings mention that when the bell rings on Monday, investors will be laser-focused on the ISM Services PMI data, as well as digesting the lingering jobs shock.
Right.
Let's translate that for a second. What exactly is the ISM Services PMI, and why is it important enough to hold the market's attention right after a holiday weekend?
Sure. PMI stands for Purchasing Managers Index. Think of it as a vital vibe check for the economy.
Okay, a vibe check. I like that.
The Institute for Supply Management surveys the actual corporate managers who are responsible for buying supplies for service sector businesses. So everything from software licenses to office supplies.
Got it.
If those managers are expanding their budgets and buying more, the index goes up, signaling economic growth. If they suddenly stop buying, the index drops below 50. It's essentially an early warning system.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, if purchasing managers are spooked today, retail sales and hiring will likely drop 3 months from now.
So investors are waiting to see if the people who actually buy the goods are hitting the brakes.
Exactly.
Man, we have covered an incredible amount of ground today.
A lot to digest.
We analyzed the physical mechanics of a heat wave shutting down the America 250 celebrations, walked through the constitutional machinery of 3 major Supreme Court rulings, examined the trillion-dollar AI market and the export controls attempting to loose it. We surveyed the raw physical power of the Venezuelan earthquake and wrapped up with the mechanics of global escapism through box office records and World Cup appeals.
It really highlights the incredible duality of the news cycle right now.
It does. And before you get back to your holiday weekend, there's one final thought. We want you to mull over something that bridges all the sources we pulled from today.
Yeah, think about this. We are simultaneously building trillion-dollar, hyper-advanced digital mines, deploying satellites that can count individual damaged buildings from orbit, and orchestrating global sports spectacles. Yet at the exact same time, our greatest national celebrations are forced to cancel because the sun is too hot and our power lines sag.
It's true.
We remain entirely vulnerable to the shifting of tectonic plates, and we are still struggling to move basic medical supplies into viral hot zones. So the question to consider this weekend is, are our immense technological leaps actually giving us mastery over the physical world, or are they just providing us with brilliant, high-definition tools to observe our own vulnerability?
That is a fantastic question to bring up over the grill. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Have a safe, enjoyable holiday weekend and stay curious.